Hello, and welcome to another Convention Reviews. Today I will be reviewing MoTownCon 2023. This is a relatively newer convention or one-day event in Mooresville, North Carolina. Mooresville is an interesting town. It's most famously known as the hometown of NASCAR. This particular one-day event is very famous for hosting itasha vehicles. These are basically vehicles that are generally tricked out in video game, anime, manga esque skins, and tend to be very painful or cringeworthy, which is kind of a fun element on it. I will say that this has become a lot more popular in the last couple of years, and this event in particular is very interesting because there actually is a very large gathering of these particular vehicles. I was told by one coordinator that this is probably the second or third largest gathering in the particular region, which is, or the USA. This particular event was actually held in a high school, which was pretty interesting to say the least. The reason behind this is because the original venue that they had selected unfortunately ran into some issues, and so they ended up having to switch venues at the last minute. The event itself was relatively very affordable, considering this is a one-day event. It only really had a $5 entrance fee, which was relatively speaking very affordable, all things considered. As well as they did have a small dealer's room with a variety of different vendors, from wigs to Etsy kind of arts and crafts, as well as figurines, pictures, as well as there were also a handful of artists as well, and sci-fi and other different kinds of local artists and authors, which was, an interesting little taste to add to this convention as well. Outside of that, they did have, a little bit of cosplay and some other smaller events. I know there was sort of like an idol group that was doing some stuff, as well as some other groups, as well as kind of to end the night, there was a cosplay contest and a masquerade, which is pretty common at most conventions, what went into the afternoon. Personally, one of the big highlights of this particular convention was that the people who are putting on the show actually held a really nice panel talking about itasha vehicles and sort of like, how they got into them, and, what are the steps in order to, really get into this particular aspect of the fandom. And it was really interesting because, basically they implied that, you can pretty much, trick out any vehicle you could think of. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's like a sports vehicle or something like brand new. You can almost turn anything into one, which was pretty interesting. But they did very much compare it to basically it's the equivalent of getting a tattoo, in the sense of like, even on the low end of the spectrum, you're probably going to spend about $1,000, and the sky's the limit. I think the most expensive one there, I think, was like $6,000 or $7,000, all things for like the biggest truck. But it, like I said, it was really interesting to kind of get a view on this, especially considering this kind of panel and material isn't really kind of covered at a lot of different events, which to me was really interesting to say the least. One thing I really liked about the vehicles is that there also was a wide variety of different skins. There definitely were a number of very popular properties on there in the last couple of years, such as My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. But there also were a lot of, a mix of older series and more niche series as well, which definitely was a nice treat to see, especially considering how customizable a lot of these vehicles are, and really was a very fun process, to say the least. I would say that if you are somebody that is in like the western part of North Carolina or Charlotte area, it's definitely worth checking out. Or if you're willing to make a small day trip over, it's definitely a treat, considering it is an interesting kind of crossroads of anime fandom, these itasha vehicles. Once again, this is Convention Reviews reviewing MoTownCon 2023. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.